microphone on these headphones, these Bluetooth headphones are great. Matter of fact, I think I'm missing like the microphone dongle that came with it, which I have no idea how it escaped from my case. Um, but even without that dongle, which I'm assuming it's a microphone dongle, it's fantastic. I can't even imagine if it is a microphone dongle, uh, what it would sound like with it. So, um, I'm really impressed. Okay, so now it is 4 a.m. All right. Normally the time I wake up is between 3 and 5 a.m. every morning. Okay. And I am trying to get back into a routine. Uh, and start doing more my exercises again, which is a good thing because 9 times out of 10, like for the last 2 months, um, uh, it's just it's just not gonna happen. And when I started with this last year, and I'm talking about my health issues, I was walking on a treadmill every day. Okay, and it got to the point where even walking across the parking lot was impossible. To the point where I could walk uphill. Okay, with ease, and then the weight gain started. So which I'm going to be going to the doctor to take care of that as well. Uh, which um, because and again, it's weight gain is a byproduct of the disease. So and I've already lost 100 pounds twice. Okay. So doing it again, it's not an issue, but it's definitely a obstacle. So, um, so I'm actually after these 2 months, I'm feeling better, and I'm trying to do certain routines that kind of maintains that better feeling from the perspective that if I'm not feeling good, I'm not going back as far as I have, as far as downhill as I did these last couple of months. Because I mean, don't get me wrong. Um, there's several things that I've done. Okay, and one of them is getting a bed where I can adjust the head and the foot, and that has transformed astronomical my sleep. So, I mean, it's like night and day. So, of course, with that sleep and the better sleep that I'm getting, that in itself has made a drastic improvement anyway. But anyway, I'm sipping on my tea, like I do 4 o'clock in the morning, which is black tea and some milk, and watching Junior Chef, which is my go-to here, and watching some I need videos because the last few videos for ASA has been awesome. Um, and, and of course, this is not one of them. And I ran across one that I watched about 30 minutes of yesterday, and I was continuing on this morning. And one thing I cannot stand is as an instructor, okay, you're telling me about this particular item, okay, or product or technology or method, and then you'll say, and I already have it configured on my PC, and then you don't show me how to deploy it. It's just like, dude, are you serious? Okay, it's almost like instructors forget that you are instructing me. Okay, and I ain't got time to watch you explain all this and then skip the actual implementation. Okay, how am I going to learn how to to do that section, to do that part? Okay, yeah, that's really a blower for me. All right, so and you can easily say I do the same thing. Okay, but not from a perspective of we're gonna learn all this stuff here. Okay, and this is important now. All right, and the only way to get this technology installed is this, and then not show you. I don't, guys. If I do that, please, please, please bring me back in pocket, because that's some out of pocket crap. I'm not lying. Okay, something happened to me that day that I lost my mind. Okay, so just call me out on that stuff. Now remember, okay, with training, all right, everything that I teach you, you question. Okay, all right, like what we've gone through so far. All right, like EIGRP. I have not shown. I had not even begun to get deep into EIGRP. And EIGRP is a very easy protocol compared to OSPF and BGP. Okay, all right, because I'm just trying to give you a feel of the routing protocol. Okay, so you can actually go to work and deploy it. Okay, you're just not going to understand all the or be self-aware of all the possibilities of things you can do because we haven't gotten deep into it. All right, so because in the beginning they're intros. I'm introducing you to the routing protocol. Okay, so now, all right. With that being said, first of all, 6 minutes. All right, so that's not bad. So, what am I? Oh, Vizio. You know, here. Let me pause this for a second. All right, so I'm just sitting there looking at this real quick. Um, and we got the same IP addresses on this damn thing. Okay, so I believe our intro of OSPF, okay, was this. Okay. Um, Now this is going to have to change because remember um we are using ESXi. Okay, so now from a perspective, remember we have let's do some bullcrap drawing here because I don't have my drawing pad, which I'll have to get next week. I get some money in my pocket. Let's draw and let's go ahead. Okay, so here's our server. Okay, all right. Now on our server, okay, we have ESXi. Okay. Yeah, I'm using a mouse by the way, so that's why it's so bad. Okay, now from ESXi perspective, okay, that goes onto the bare metal of the box. Now, from that perspective, this is where our VMs sit, right? Our virtual machines or blah 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 blah. Okay, now remember, inside this virtual machine we have a virtual switch. Okay, all right, and that means that in order to have a point-to-point connection, okay, remember, all right, we're going to put this VM, okay, in VLAN 1, okay, and then put this VM, which are going to be CSSR routers, okay, which are my favorite, okay, and put that in VLAN 1 on the switch, okay. All right, that makes it a point-to-point connection because nobody else is in that connectivity. All right, so now can I control Z? Of course not. Okay, there has to be a better way. Actually, you know what? Let's try doing this. Let's go. Nope. Go back home. There we go. Okay. Um. So now, okay, I think we went through this, which we're probably gonna end up going through it again. Okay. All right. But we also gotta look at it from a perspective. After we do this, okay. All right, we're gonna draw this virtual switch. Now, anytime I use a virtual switch, okay, la 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 la, where are you? Where are you? Where are you, dude? What's wrong with you? I guess the caffeine of the black tea hasn't kicked in yet. There it is. Okay, so now, uh, okay, let's move this up here. Let's go ahead and group this. Okay, now, uh, okay, we're not gonna be doing any configurations on this video, by the way. We're just gonna be getting this set up. Okay. So now, okay. Oh, okay. My bad. Move forward. Okay, this will be router 2. No, 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 3. And router 4. Okay, now, let's move this forward. Okay, I guess it didn't work. Oh, there's a reason for that. Okay, ungroup. Alright, bring forward. Okay. First of all, we're gonna have to extend this. Okay, so let's bring this up here. Leave that there for now. Alright, and now we're going to. Okay. Okay, and let's bring this down, bring this over. Okay, and this is going to be 2.3. The last octet is going to tell you what router we're on. Okay, and these are behaviors that you should be doing. Okay, even in production. Okay, as your octets mean something. Okay, all right. Each one means something. Okay, so your first one is obviously going to be your class. Okay, what class you're using. All right. So even if you're using a 10 network, okay, you could be using 10 as a as an identifier if you want, but that's kind of not feasible in a lot of ways if you have tons and tons of different departments, okay, and you're separating those VLANs, okay, from each department. All right, okay, for every for what even damn it, damn Kyle, for any reason, okay, for whatever reason is what I wanted to say, because you could actually use an octet to identify a server farm or F5 deployments or SAN deployments, okay, for management purposes or what because I'm not a SAN guy, so I don't know what IP addresses are there. Is it just for the sandbox? Is it for uh, other parts of the SAN device? I don't know. So okay, but nonetheless, so you can't do the first octet because they're all going to be all tens, right? Okay. If I use a 172, same thing, or 198, same thing. Okay, now I could use a 10 for the entire organization, okay, all right, and use a 172 for the server farm, all right, if I want to do it that way. But you're only going to have 3 options, okay, because you're only going to use private IP addresses. All right, now you could use public IP addresses, okay, internally, okay, and not that traffic, and it doesn't really matter, okay, all right, but I mean, there's been cases where the ISP forgot. I mean, I've experienced it. Uh, Forgot to um block private IP addresses, and I forgot to do that, and everything was working, and I was happy. Okay, if they would have blocked IP addresses, the private IP addresses like they were supposed to, meaning that those private IP addresses were actually in the internet's routing table. Okay, if they had blocked it, I would have realized, oh, I forgot to do that. Okay, all right, but it happens. All right, give me 1 second. I gotta pause again. Okay, so now we have to take these, okay, and bring those up here. Okay. Actually, to make this uniform, we kind of. Are you serious? Why is it doing that? Did I hit the control key or what? I don't know why I even did that. Okay, this needs to come over to be uniformed. Okay, and now select all these. Now I'm using the control key to do my selection, by the way. I know a lot of you guys are not visual guys, so I'm going to try to give you that education as well as we're going through here. Um, okay, I use arrow keys to move things. Okay, if I want to move it slower, I zoom in. If I want to move it faster, okay, see how it moves a lot more as I zoom out. Okay, this is one of the things about Visio, which is cool as hell. All right, so if you want to move it very slowly, obviously you zoom in very deeply, okay, or very, very, very much. Okay, now, um, hold on for a second. Okay, so apparently we're gonna have many pauses to do this, but nonetheless, I need to go to a shape. Okay, and for some reason, all right, here we go. I was just like, wow, I'm just having a mental block here. All right, so now we are going to slide this in here. Okay, and now remember, once you go past the line, the border of his, it creates a new page. See that? Okay. So when we zoom out, now we get 2 pages here, which is great. Okay. Visio is nobody to mess with, boy. All right. So now let's actually go in here and fill this in. Okay, and we're gonna make this very light blue. I like to use very light colors. Okay. When doing my diagrams. Um, just my preference. Send that to the back. Okay, and now we are going to go to some text. Boom, boom. Okay, error 0. Now, let's go ahead and um, oops. Hold Shift and the arrow keys to select items if you want to do it that way. Because sometimes double clicking doesn't work, or it's just a pain in the butt, and you just want to get it selected. Also, obviously, Control A will select everything in the text box. The shift and the arrow keys allows you to select one character at a time. Okay, so you know, so even in like Word, okay, you go to you select, and for some reason you just can't get that last character. That's where the shift and the arrow key helps you out there. Okay, make sense? Now, we want to change this. 30 is fine. All right, and bam. Okay. Now, as I am building these, okay, another thing that really tears me up when I'm watching training. Okay, and these guys, these are key points. All right. Once a diagram is being shown in a video training, okay, the first thing that I do is I pause the video, okay, and I copy that diagram either in a snippet, okay, like a screenshot, or I write it down on paper, okay, because with the screenshot or the snippet, okay, you gotta understand that you have to have, in order to follow the instructor, okay, all right. The instructor is either going to do 2 things, which most of the time they don't. Okay. Matter of fact, I think I'm the only one that's ever done that. Have the actual, um, have the diagram at the very top and split the screen with window sizing. Sizing the windows. Okay, and have the OneNote size underneath it, okay, or have my terminal windows, okay, underneath the diagram, so you can see the diagram 24/7, okay, all right. That's usually what I do, all right. But like something like this, technically I should be changing the sizes of these objects, okay, but doesn't really matter. All right, and I might do that. I might select them all and change the size, but you gotta understand, okay, that's not that easy. Okay, because as I do this, okay, that worked out great. The scaling worked out fantastic. Matter of fact, let's let's put that up there, right there. Okay, so that's beautiful. All right, but it didn't. No, I'm sorry, it didn't work. Okay, so let's go back. Okay. Really? Okay, so what has happened is these numbers down here did not resize, did not scale. Okay, and that was exactly what I was talking about. So let's go back up here. Oh, stop. Select all. Okay, now the numbers are back to back to normal. Okay, so you gotta understand that um, your diagram can get seriously messed up, and apparently Control Z does not resize it back, which is news to me. I didn't know that. Okay, and now we're gonna put this back up in here. Okay, and now we're gonna actually add these VLANs here. Okay, so these VLAN numbers are not VLANs on switch. Okay, these are ES6i VLANs. Okay, to isolate my traffic. Okay, all right. So don't get confused. We're not putting VLANs on the switch and putting those port numbers or in those VLANs. Okay. Um, so this will be 2. This will be 2. Okay. Now the switch from a diagram perspective is to let you understand that we are all on the same broadcast domain for router 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, with these switches, with only these 2 ports here, which this has to be 2. Got all kinds of mistakes here, but that's how we do this. Okay, we make sure our diagram is accurate. Okay, um, these could be 2 as well, just to keep it uniform. Okay, so now, all right, so what we're going to do now, okay, is we are going to select this, okay, and copy it over here. Boom. Okay, and now, let's bring this here. Let's bring this up here. Okay, that was a mistake. Okay. Oh, I know what I'm doing. I'm doing that by habit. My bad. Okay, so I was holding the control key. That's why I was doing that. All right, so select this and just move this down to make it uniform. Okay, and now this is going to be area. We'll just say 100. Okay, and we're going to we're going to change the color of this to this one. Boom. Okay, and now we're going to get rid of the switch. Okay, and we are actually going to only need, oops. Okay, be very careful. Okay, so see how I'm doing this? I'm not doing this on purpose. It's just I'm trying to select and I can't because I'm grabbing the actual circle object. Okay, so so just be very careful when you're doing your visual diagrams because you can mess up badly. Okay, all right, and Control Z is definitely your friend. Okay, so now I can just select. Okay, let's go back because I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have the actual circle selected. Okay, and now I'm holding the control key as I select my objects. Okay, all right. Now keep in mind you're at work. All right, so who cares? You spent the extra 20 seconds, hitting objects. Okay, because lots of times when you are updating a document or in Visio, you're in somebody else's creation. Okay, so the last thing you want to do is screw up that creation, especially if this is a shared document, okay, for production that you are using to make logical decisions and changes in your network. Does that make sense? All right, so now, but now I can actually move this out of the way. All right, and this. Damn it. Okay, we need to make that a little bit better. I do that for just cosmetic cosmetic reasons as I'm selecting things. Okay, so now let's actually move this over here. Okay. All right, and I copied it because I have a habit. Okay, and I'm not kidding. I have a serious habit of having my finger over that control key, and the weight of my fingers a lot of times makes me push it without me realizing what I'm doing. Okay, all right. So now 5, 6. Okay, so now, all right. These are going to be 3 and 3. Okay, and now I'm going to create a line here. Okay, all right, and we're going to. Okay, and like I said, for cosmetic reasons, we'll do this. All right, now grab this bad boy, and we're going to copy. Okay, go ahead and group. I love grouping for lots of reasons, especially if I'm creating a copy of like a router where there's thousands of pieces. Grouping is definitely your friend, especially like when you're making all the little holes for the air vents. Yeah, I get that detailed. It definitely is an art. Okay, and now boom and boom. Okay, so now ideally I would bring this down, okay, and group this. Okay, all right, and now um um you know what? Um let's let's go. See, now I can select that whole thing and just move this over. See, cool as hell, right? Okay, let's do it this way. And let's bring this in here, because right now in my head, I'm designing this, okay, on the fly. So I am making, okay, now we're going to select this line and just send it back. Okay, so this doesn't have to be that big, okay, and now, okay, so the last thing that I want to do, okay, is actually, change all this, because it doesn't need to be all that big. Okay, the next thing I want to do is this. Um, okay, so let's go ahead and select that and this with the control key. Hold the control key to copy. Okay. All right. Let's bring this over here. Okay. And now notice I could actually let's do this. Okay. First of all, let's change this to a different color. All right, and that would be fill. All right, let's use green for that one. Okay. All right, and we're going to actually put this here, okay? And now I can grab this. Another reason why I like grouping. See, I just grab that, okay? And now I can actually ungroup, um, okay? And then we actually can get rid of this. Delete, okay? And delete, okay? We can deal with that in a minute. Okay, this will be router 6. No, router 7. Okay, this is actually going to be VLAN. Now, it's grouped, so if I select inside that group, I can actually select that object. Okay, router 3. I mean, VLAN 3. Okay, and now this can connect to here. Okay, let's select this, bring this over here. Okay, and now um, let us bring this down a little bit more. Okay, select an object and say 7.7.7.7. Okay, all right. And this is going to be not area, but we'll just say rip. Okay. Now, so let's make this go backwards or underneath. Ooh, what happened? Oh. Okay, so let's bring back forward, and we only want to send backwards. Okay, that's not working. There we go. Bring forward. Bring forward. Wow. Okay. That's just acting weird. Which is not weird. It is the way it is. Okay. Anytime you create an object, which this was created by a copy. Okay. It needs to be sent to the back. It's not weird. It's just it's not really blowing my mind. It's just the fact that and let's bring this forward. I just wasn't thinking clearly. Okay. So now, um, this and this gets moved up to here. Okay, we're going to move this to the side because it'll interfere with this. Okay, so your diagrams aren't always going to be perfect, but at the same time, okay, I could turn this way. Okay, make it a little weird. Okay, and matter of fact, how did this, all right, get screwed up? Okay, so now, and let's go ahead and turn this. See how I grabbed the whole thing? Now, that in itself, if there's a lot of objects, could screw up your entire diagram. So you got to use that Control Z. Okay, that's actually doing the whole object. So let's just leave it there. All right, I'm just like that's not really that important. Now, in a production, if I'm at work, yeah, I would definitely redo the 7.7.7 because it's not uniformed. Okay, all right. You're getting. I'm trying to make you understand how tedious diagrams is a sculpture of who you are. Okay, all right. So if I have a rectangle at the top and a rectangle at the bottom, and I need you to create 4 lines, okay, and bundle those lines into a port channel, okay, and your lines are not straight from top to bottom, which I have seen. I don't know how people could turn work like that in, okay, where the lines are crooked, but all it shows you is a lack of understanding how to use Visio. They left the lines crooked, okay, all right, and not uniform, not spaced evenly apart, okay, because you can't have a non-parallel line, okay, evenly spaced apart. Okay, you can't do it. All right, because eventually those 2 lines are going to intersect at some point, so the space between them is not even from the beginning. But it just shows you they are stuck on that part. They don't know how to get that line straight. It's just a lack of knowledge of Visio. That's all. Okay. It's not like they're idiots. I mean, they know the horrible work they're turning in. Okay. I mean, it's obvious it's their work. Okay. But it's just they need to be trained. Okay. So as an engineer, all right. Okay. uh, from my perspective, that's when we have especially if I'm the team lead, that's when we have a discussion on how to use Visio from a perspective like a 10-minute call, okay, and show him several things to make him more powerful, okay. First of all, when the call ends, he's going to be smiling, okay. His work production is going to be better because he's happy as hell. All right, because he learned something. All right, don't get it twisted. All right, I don't care who you are, 2 years old or 90. Okay, the dopamines that you get when you learn something, it never ends. Okay, it never ends because knowledge is that exciting. So now, just give me 1 second. Okay. Now keep in mind, there's another spectrum of that scale. Okay, that will be the individual. Okay, who knows that they know. Okay. Now any real physicist, scientist, uh, uh, even if they're even like myself. Okay, I'm not a scientist. I'm a scientist at heart. Okay. All right. Now, if there's a concept of physics, okay, that is placed on the table, an explanation to me of that physics, two things are gonna happen. One, I don't give a shit about it. Okay. All right. Or two, most likely I'm gonna be like, well, that's interesting. Okay. And then I'm gonna go home. Okay. And look it up to do a little bit more understanding of it. And I'm like, man, that's cool as hell. Okay. And at some point, I probably will forget it over a period of time, but the self awareness is still gonna be there about that subject. Okay. Or, all right, because I know for a fact, okay, that I don't know shit. There's too many things in this world to know, to know that I know. And even when I do know, okay, changing my perspective or knowledge of that particular subject is very easy, okay, because, you know, it's too many variables to know that you know something. Sorry, okay, all right, and only a person who actually is going through that concept of their life is like I said, I'm a physicist, I'm a scientist at heart. Okay, knowledge is what I love. Okay, even if it's useless knowledge. Okay, if I told you the Titanic, I don't think I'm saying that right. Titanic plates, I don't think I'm saying that right. All right, in the Earth move about 4 inches a year. What are you going to do with that information? Okay, the sun, 94, 95 million miles away. Okay, why does it keep changing? Someone says 93, someone says 94, someone says 95. Okay, I just say 95. All right, it's easy for me to say. I don't know, and I'm never going to know. Okay, unless I actually mark the miles to the sun, and I can't even tell you when the sun literally begins. If I want to have a concept of that, okay, well, where are you on the actual coordinates of space? Okay, sitting next to a star, where does it begin? Okay, does it begin with the corona, where that stops? Does it start where you burn up? Okay, because I mean, you could be tens of thousands of miles away from there before you burn up. I mean, think about it. Okay, so um, I just lost my train of thought, but nonetheless, um, the person who knows they know, you can tell them something over and over and over. Perfect example. Okay, you take something out of like an air fryer and you start scrubbing it, and you're bitching about this is a true story, by the way. Okay, and you start bitching about how hard it is to clean because it's getting in the fins. Now, you've been living with me for years, and what you've noticed is everything that I put in the sink, I pour water in it. So if I'm eating something off a plate, I place the plate flat and pour water in the plate. Okay? If I'm drinking glasses, even if I'm drinking something like chocolate milk, and the syrup has set in the bottom of the glass for weeks, the first thing I do is put it in the sink, pour water in it. Why? Because everything dissolves in water. This is a scientific theory, and from me, it's basic physics. Okay, but that person who's living with you, okay, they don't know why you put the water in a glass, but you have told them time and time again, everything dissolves in water. Okay, so if you want to clean your air fryer container, what's the first thing you do? Pour water into it, okay, until it covers up the grate or whatever thing that has in there to not let it sit in grease, okay, and just let it sit until it loosens because of the water. All right? If it's dehydrated and burnt and it's stuck on it, why are you going to spend energy cleaning it? Okay? And this is a true story. Okay? And then again, after I've said 100 times before, and I said, hey, everything dissolves in water, and their response is, no, it doesn't. Okay, well, we're done. All right? Okay, I can't make you. I can't make you take the information. Okay, all right. If you say no, it doesn't. That means you know you know. All right, and when you know, okay, you're okay. That's your choice. You have closed a door of knowledge, which is one, and two, you have completely shut your mind off to any knowledge of that subject, and you will remain doing that same task, expecting different results. Does that make sense? Knowledge is a way of life. Physics is a way of life. Okay? All right? And the reason why I like uh, Master Chef Junior, okay, because those kids I relate to. All right. So instead of being 10 years old and being happy and free, okay, I'm thinking about things like gravity and how it works. Okay. All right. That's just my childhood. Okay. It always has been. Okay. And those kids watching them perform meals, and I love to cook, but there ain't no goddamn way in hell that I'm cooking at that level. And these kids are like 8 years old, 12 to 12. It just boggles my mind. Okay, but if I had those kids in my neighborhood, okay, I would have friends as kids. Now don't now let's be serious. I'm in a neighborhood where there are no kids. So, I was destined for that anyway. So, and when there's no kids in your neighborhood, when every year at Halloween, you don't buy candy because nobody knocks on your door. All right, it's one of those neighborhoods. All right, so, um, um, so you see what I'm saying? So, I was destined for that anyway. But nonetheless, okay. So what we have done here is we have created our lab, which no way, shape, or form. And now we're gonna save this. Let's put this on desktop. Desktop. OSPF Lab. I know it's a lab because it's a video document. Okay, so now. Okay, so what I have done. Okay, forgot my VLAN. Oops. Okay, so think about what I've done. Okay, since the moment of time, since I have hooked up two 2500 routers back in 2009, okay, with a serial cable, trying to figure out, okay, how to get these things to ping, okay, I have created a diagram with pencil and paper. Okay, I haven't used a pen in 15 some plus years. Okay, because that's my go-to. I got tons of pencils, maybe one pen, and 9 times out of 10 I have to get one for my mother because my mother got gallons of pens. Okay, so hang on for a second. Okay, so take my advice. Even with one router, okay, if you're going on a router to just look at commands and how things are, okay, all right, even if you're using a router to even set up VTY lines and using a PC to plug into that router, you create a diagram. The IP address of the actual of the PC and of the router. Okay, if you're going to be using VLANs on a switch, that switch better be in the diagram with the VLANs. Stay away from that, okay, unless it's part of your training. All right, if you have a router and a PC, okay, and you're practicing VLANs on a switch, okay, create your diagram, okay, and practice, put in different VLANs, watch the ping fail, fine, okay, but don't add a switch, okay, to a router and a PC or to a router, okay, adding another layer for you to troubleshoot, okay, making it extra complicated. Your lab should be as simple as possible. Okay, yes, it's cool to move things with sub interfaces and VLANs and a trunk point. Okay, it's cool as hell. All right, you'll get. Trust me, because we haven't covered that yet, and you're going to get your chance. Okay, to do that. All right, but okay, all right, even in production, don't add different layers. Okay, to something just because and make it extra complicated. A lot of times we do what I love to call extra overthinking. And we all heard that term. My concept is okay, when someone says something to me, I'm like, okay, hold up. All right. Do you know what you just did? And of course, they'll be like, what? I'm like, you just gave me too many variables. Okay? All right? Way too many variables. Because variables have subvariables or other variables or possibilities. Okay? Someone who is actually a thinker like me with an active mind to the point where I can't even sleep, that's just a disaster. So, way too many variables. Let's keep it simple. Okay? All right? I have enough problem. Stop trying to calm my brain down. All right? With ridiculous chatter. Okay? All right? So, the last thing I need is you give me more variables. All right? That's just who I am. Okay? It's not my fault that my brain won't shut off. Okay? It's not my fault that I had to deal with this my entire life. It's just always been that way. All right? Okay? It's not fun. You would think, oh man, I would love to be that intelligent. For me, it's not a sense of intelligence. It's a sense of a curse. All right? Because I can't even sleep lots of times. Okay? Now don't get me wrong. Like I said, my sleeping has changed since I got my new bed. But still, you get the idea. Okay? That concept makes sense. Don't add another layer. Okay? When you don't have to. When you create point to point links, just make them links. Don't put them on a switch and put them in VLANs unless the only way is the fact that those devices are connected onto the switch for connectivity purposes. Now you can use a VLAN to make it a point to point link. Okay? But it's because you don't have a choice. All right. Now, I don't care if you go in there and create all your VLANs and make point-to-point links. That's your design. Okay. It works. That's fine. But the troubleshooting aspects, you always have to go down to check that layer 2 before you check the layer 3. Because without layer 2, layer 3 doesn't work. I can't. And I'm gonna tell you, and throughout my studies, okay, I did not even grasp that concept, and I always had to question: does layer 2 affect layer 3? And I'm telling you, man, no one could actually answer this question. All right, so I got two advices for you. One, everything I teach you, you question it. Okay, through documentation, through labbing. Okay, all right. If you want to figure out a question that you have, and no one can give you a straight answer, then use the equipment to obtain your answer. Your theory could be wrong for years, but eventually you're going to get to the truth. Okay? Because at one point, your theory on how that technology works in production or even in the lab, it's just not going to work. And you're like, it has to work because my theory dictates it. And now you have to go back and rethink your theory and says, well, maybe apparently it doesn't work that way. So you get your answer. How? By allowing the equipment to give you the answer. Let the equipment tell you what's going on. Okay, did we do something weird here? Okay, I didn't think so. So let's go back and let's send this to the back. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now let's go ahead and save this. Save. Okay, so now with this design, okay, you have watched me build the design from scratch. Okay, besides router 1 and router 2 already being there. Okay, and now I have to go through and make sure I got at least 7 CSR routers in VMware. Okay, and build out this topology, test it. Okay, we're putting IP addresses and stuff on there. Okay, and then go through and be able to do our teachings of what we're learning. Okay, so we got 2 areas. Okay, and what we're going to do, as far as the fact that we're just now learning OSPF, we are going to start understanding how our database is structured. Okay. All right. So we got a point-to-point link up here. We're gonna talk about those. We got uh, uh, several routers on the same broadcast domain. We're gonna talk about that. Okay. And this is incorrect. So let's go back over here. We have 3. This is incorrect too because you did not add that. Okay. So let's bring this over here. Okay. This is going to be. Actually, it is going to be GO1. I don't really care. Okay, when I actually get to switch, actually this is nothing. This is nothing because this is not going to a real switch. Okay, so this is not okay. Let's stop right here. Nothing goes on there. Okay, so now this is going to be G2. G2, and this is going to be 2.5. Okay, we're always making changes to our diagram because we're always going to have mistakes. Okay, and now this has to be V4, and this has to be V5. So now, oops. Okay, so V1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are port groups. Okay, to make these point-to-point links. Okay, all right. And if I put 4 different routers or 5 different routers, this is supposed to be 2. We're going to be all in the same broadcast domain. Does that make sense? Okay. So this is our lab. Okay. This lab might look kind of complicated to you, but it really isn't because we're going to go through it step by step, bringing each link up and looking at the database and show you how the database is structured. Why do I do this? Because I wish this was done when I was learning OSPF. Okay? All right? Seriously. And you know, that's why I do things the way I do. Okay? So, our lab is built. Our Visio is built. It's saved. And now I have to go behind the scenes, which I'm not going to show you, and create more CSSRs and put them into port groups, create more port groups, okay, to create these links. Okay? And this diagram is my Bible. Without it, I will not do it correctly. I will make so many mistakes. So many links is going to be in the wrong port groups, and trying to figure it out without a diagram is just a waste of energy. This is a skill set you must develop yourself, and trust me, you're going to get to the point where Visio is now a skill set you do at work easily. And you're going to find that other people don't have that skill. Okay? All right? And how did I learn this skill? At home. Because remember, the real learning is done at home. All right? And I'm not kidding about that. So, nonetheless, our time is up. Be strong, be determined, be Cisco, and I'll see you guys when I see you.